I am Christina, and I am 32 years old. Steve and I have been together for 6 years, and I love him very much. I wanted to marry him my whole life and asked him to marry me several times, but each time he politely said no. But he finally agreed to my fifth request not long ago. Right now, we're busy getting ready for our wedding by making plans and picking out clothes. But even with all of this work, every day is fun, and I hum songs without even realizing it. Then one day, while I was happy, a prenuptial agreement was put in front of me. Steve had said that this agreement was needed in order to get married. What was agreed upon was that what belonged to each of us before we got married would stay the same. We would not mess with what the other person gets in the future, and we would update this document if our family situation changed. Steve, are you really worried about this? I asked him as he signed the paper. Well, it's just for peace of mind, just in case, he said. It's important for both of us, I believe. But I was more excited about the days ahead with him than I was about why he was so set on this deal. But a small event was about to happen. Steve has 2 older brothers who are a bit strange. Steve told me not to believe what those 2 said when I met them before our wedding. They're a bit odd. Don't worry about it. In his words, the people who will be my in-laws gave a small, unclear smile. I almost forgot about them because I hadn't seen them in a while. Then one day, while Steve was at work, I got a call from a number I didn't know. Chrissy, you like fish, right? This call from my brother-in-law, whom I had only met once, caught me off guard. What is this? I knew that Chrissy was my nickname, but who was it? I knew it wasn't a stranger because they called our home phone. It was a voice on the other end of the line that made me think of what it was. Haha, you don't know who I am. I'm Steve's brother and your new older brother. What kind of brother-in-law? What is it? Steve has 2 brothers, but this voice belonged to someone else. It has been a while. What took place? Asked but was still not sure what to do. He told her, today I went fishing and caught a lot of salmon. It's okay for me to bring a few, but I can't bring them all. Steve will love them with lemon. It made my heart beat faster when he spoke. That's great news. I could make a dish that Steve loves. Steve has to work today, but I think he'll be very pleased if he comes home to a tasty meal. I quickly went to the kitchen after hanging up the phone. I have salt and lemon. Right then, let's make a tasty dish. I was feeling great as I was getting the ingredients ready when the doorbell rang. My brother-in-law must be there, she said. I knew the face when I looked at the computer. Someone from Steve's family showed up. It was his younger brother. He looked a little tense when I opened the door. Excuse me, may I use the bathroom? Could you also pay for the taxi? As he said this, he ran into the house quickly. Huh, okay, I said as I gave the cab driver my money. He felt better when he got out of the bathroom and took a deep breath. Thanks, you saved me. Oh, and could you lend me some money too? He smiled and put out his hand. Huh, what is the money for? I looked at him a little confused, and he laughed. The fish is not free. How about $50? He asked in a relaxed way. What? I was so shocked that I almost dropped my wallet when I let out a loud scream. I thought the fish was just a treat for everyone. Of course, I felt bad taking it for free, and I had planned to buy him a snack to say thanks. But $50, that was a surprise. From the look on my brother-in-law's face, it looked like this price was normal for him. He'd arrived from a long way away to give it to me. The fish was still fresh. I didn't want to say anything that would make things worse. It hurt me a little to do it, but I took $50 out of my pocket and gave it to him. Thanks, the fish is in the fridge. Also, I'm leaving the fishing tools here. Steve has been asked to bring it home later. Thank you. After that, he quickly left. Huh, are you already leaving? Kevin, wait. I was shocked to see the cooler and gear left at the door, but he was gone in an instant, waving a $50 bill. It's odd that the stuff was left here. It won't fit here. I forgot to pay for the cab. I thought about the cab fare I had paid for him, and it looked like I was having a hard time. It feels weird to ask Steve to carry this. How do I bring up the cab fare? What was even more surprising was what was in the cooler. After I calmed down, I planned to make a dish. I said, "What?" When I opened it, "What is this?" There was only one small fish on top of a lot of ice. I couldn't move because I was so shocked. "What is this, then?" I had no words to describe how shocked I was. I was excited about getting a lot of fish because of how my brother-in-law talked. I was so excited that I cut a lemon. I could only sigh when I saw the lemon I had cut with joy. A few months later, I went to a nearby small cafe. "Don't tell my younger brother, but I need to talk to you about something." The urgent call came from my husband's older brother. His voice sounded urgent. "Listen, I need to talk about something important, but I can't tell my parents or brother." He said that over and over again. I was a little nervous, but the chosen cafe was warm and bright, and it was daytime, so I thought everything would be fine. "Christina, come over here," he called out loudly as soon as I opened the door. Other people were staring at me, which made me feel bad, so I quickly walked over to his table and looked down. "Look at that blush, Christina. You're so cute." My brother-in-law's smile made my cheeks get even redder. "Let's have a little more peace and quiet." He waved his hand and said, "Okay, okay," when I told him this in a whisper. Then he introduced me to the woman sitting next to him. I said, "This is my new girlfriend." A beautiful woman dressed in style stood up and looked at me. A low voice asked, "What's this about?" Just as I was about to meet her, the next thing I knew, I got hit in the cheek. I was shocked and couldn't figure out what had happened. Someone from the crowd just hit me. "Why?" The angry woman in front of me yelled. "Is this your new girlfriend? She's so annoying," and stormed out of the coffee shop. "James, hold on. What kind of joke is this?" It hurts a little on my cheek. My throat dried up from being so shocked. "Actually, I had a fight with my girlfriend," my brother-in-law said without any thought. "I thought about getting a new girlfriend instead of you and stopping our relationship." He laughed and said, "Thanks to that, it's all over now." Are you kidding me? This is something I never thought would happen. I began to get annoyed by how carefree he seemed. "Well, these things happen," he said with a wave of his hand. "It's not a big deal." I've never had anything like this happen before, though. How can I keep my cool? I spoke up. Honestly, I was so angry, shocked, and embarrassed that I couldn't think straight. My brother-in-law then told me, "Don't be so mad. It's not important." It shocked everyone. But was it really that shocking? As I looked around, I saw that everyone was looking at me. As I felt the looks of shame on other customers' faces, my cheeks burned. Because I felt bad, I looked down. My brother-in-law saw this as a chance and stood up, smiled, and said, "See you later." I said hello to my brother for me, and I left the store. "Hold on. Have a few more things to say," I yelled, but he was already out of sight, so he couldn't hear me. A staff member with a worried look on their face stopped me from going after him as soon as I stood up. "Excuse me, may I have the check?" As they gave me the bill, they said that was really the only thing that came to mind. It's been getting worse between me and my in-laws lately, so I was thinking about staying away from them. In my heart, I felt both powerless and angry because I had so many problems at once. After telling my husband everything, we agreed not to respond to any messages from his brothers. If they needed something, they would have to talk to my husband about it. I then chose to ignore the several texts I got after that. The happiness didn't last long, though, because my in-laws' 60th birthday party was coming up, and I had to go. I've always felt welcome with them, and I loved them as much as I loved my husband's parents. My mother-in-law said, "Wow, It's so big. And that separate room over there is so pretty too. Seeing her have fun made me feel better. This house would be great for the party if I could pick it. The in-laws wanted a traditional house that I got from my grandparents not long ago. That house is a classic house that is 230 years old and was moved. When my grandparents lived there, it was always busy. I talked about it with nostalgia. The first time I met my wife, it was also in such a traditional place, my father-in-law said as he thought back. It turned out they met while looking at old homes and having tea together. They found out they were both the same age. In fact, this house was a restaurant before my grandparents moved into a nursing home. My mother-in-law made me feel better by telling me today was special and the place was perfect. She felt bad that she hadn't invited them sooner. Those words made my heart a little warmer. They looked at the house and yard for 2 hours before the party started. During this, the oldest brother came in, making a lot of noise and looking a little unhappy. What is this? We're having lunch in such a quiet place, and Steve is the only one here to greet us. The oldest brother said, "That's surprising." Steve answered with a smile. "This is what Mom and Dad want. They wanted to spend time with their family in a cozy place. This lunch is a special one from a well-known shop in the area." I remembered how excited I had been for that lunch when Steve said that. The second brother spoke up with a worried look on his face and said, "Even if it's a special lunch, it's still lunch. In such a lovely house, shouldn't we have gotten fancier food?" "Steve, aren't you being too cheap? The rent for the house must have been pretty high. Today was for my in-laws, and I thought we should honor their requests. The first time, I wasn't reimbursed for the taxi price when I was only given a small salmon, nor for the costs at the shop where I got into a fight with his ex-girlfriend. But after that, my oldest and second oldest brothers kept nagging Steve and me and sometimes made jokes about it. Steve kept up his normal calm and gentle attitude through it all. I love that about him a lot." My oldest brother smiled and said, "Hey, I just thought of a good idea." We were having a great time talking. Life has some strange turns sometimes. Steve looked at me with a slightly tense face, as if he felt the same way. After that, the oldest brother whispered something to the second brother. The two of them laughed out loud, their eyes shining. "Are we family?" The oldest child smiled and said, "There's a way to make this special day even more special." At that moment, the oldest brother looked at my husband and asked, "Has this place already closed down?" He said, "Yes, it has," in a soft voice and with a shocked look. Then my excited brothers-in-law came up to us. "Wait a minute, are you implying that you're the one who brings in the money?" The biggest brother yelled, "Why, yes." And the second brother smiled. "You're so lucky to live in such a beautiful place and have such a big house." "Wait, do you not understand something?" My husband cocked his head in surprise. However, my brothers-in-law went on. "It was the second brother who begged, 'You can't keep this wonderful place all to yourself. Would you share it with us, sir?' asked the oldest with a smile. I got what they were trying to do and had a thought. "What do you need?" I laughed and asked. They looked at me with wide eyes, probably thinking about the things that belonged to our family. I couldn't just do what they said. I didn't receive this house, so it's not my husband's. My husband has always been there for me, especially when it came to my fortune. He told me many times, "If there's a problem, talk to me. Remember to follow the rules of our prenuptial agreement." My brother-in-law's behavior was even worse when I thought about how kind and honest he was. "Isn't this place in the most beautiful spot anywhere? You can get anything you need with just a short walk. Isn't this house a little too big?" The oldest child said, "Maybe we should let our younger brother's family live here," which was a lie. "We don't have to meet anymore if you don't agree." After taking a big breath, I said, "It's okay." They were shocked. "That's it. If so, can our younger brothers live here?" "Yes, of course," said with a smile. not just for the second oldest brother, but also for you. I hope everyone likes the house. These are the keys." When I gave them the keys, my brothers-in-law's faces lit up right away. "That's it. We're very thankful." "Yes, Christina. Thank you so much," she said. They walked around the house happily, while my husband asked, "Are you sure about this?" He did so with a slightly raised eyebrow. I grabbed his hand. "Don't be afraid. I've given it a lot of thought." After a few days, our intercom rang urgently while we were relaxed in the living room. When they opened the door, my in-laws looked scared. "Why is this taking place?" We didn't know that the house was going to be torn down. They held up a warning to tear down the building. "Oh, that was planned," I said in a calm voice. They were shocked and asked, "Why?" I told them, "There will be a new apartment building built there. In order to do that, the current house has to be torn down." They were dumbfounded as they looked at me. I also said, "The high-end restaurant has been offered to move because it is in such a great spot." While the 60th birthday party was going on, I left it alone, but today is a big day for it. They looked at each other worriedly. Seeing how surprised they were made me feel a little better. "Is the house really going to be torn down? Are you sure?" I smiled and said, "Yes, I am. So you might want to get back any important things soon. Everything inside will be thrown away." When they heard this, their eyes got even bigger. I added, "Given how busy the construction site is, work might start soon." As I looked out the window at the big machines, "It's safer to take your valuables now." After a short pause, they quickly began to talk about it, asking, "Is this real? Are we going to move quickly?" As I watched them run off, I looked at my husband. I said, "It looks like they really didn't know." My husband smiled and said, "I guess my parents and I thought it would be good for them to get a little shock based on what we've learned from the past. But we may have caused the workers trouble. The house keys were given to my in-laws?" "That's true." I told my husband and his parents the right way to go about telling them about my plans to move into a new house. Of course, I also told them that the house had been bought and gave them information about the date of the handover. They could have told the brothers the truth, but it looks like no one did in the end. "Don't stress out about the workers," he told me. "I've already talked about it with them." I thought this might happen, so I told the worker ahead of time. We said a few words. "I hope you regret it," and then went to sleep. I couldn't believe it had come to this the next day. When we got to my in-laws' house, my mother-in-law's Mings and my upset brothers-in-law were there to greet us. "Even if the contractor didn't let you in, what were you thinking trying to sneak into the house at night?" Well, it turns out that they tried to sneak into the house during the day, but were turned away. So they tried to get their valuable things at night. A neighbor thought this was odd and called the cops. "Not only did you not get your things back, but you were also stopped by the police," my husband said in shock. Yet even though the in-law boys were eager to explain, their parents only said, "You both should say sorry." My husband gently gave them advice, and they didn't seem like they wanted to say sorry. But the oldest brother replied, "What?" with a hint of anger. "But all of this is because of Christina." The second brother added, "I thought you were nice, but I was wrong. I didn't understand why you gave me the keys so quickly. But when you did to the house, shocked me." Could only smile when they suddenly complained, "Brothers, it looks like we have a misunderstanding. The truth is that I received both the land and the house. We talked about this before I got married to Steve. I've always said what's mine is mine, and we even made a deal about it. So really, it's not your place to step in." "A contract?" I asked. The in-laws looked shocked, though. I chose to make things clear. There have been many ideas about what to do with the land since my grandparents' time, but they always wanted to keep it the way it is. On the other hand, they told me I could sell it in the future, which I confirmed with a skilled builder. It's not your business then. But we're family, so why do you think it doesn't matter to us? Before I answered, I thought about a lot of things. About 3 years ago, I really began to think about getting married. Since my mom died soon after giving birth, my dad raised me with a lot of care on his own. Together with my dad, we were like best friends. We went camping in the summer and on ski trips in the winter. Unfortunately, those happy times came to an abrupt end when my father fell and died. Being overloaded, I felt bad that I couldn't do anything to help him and sad that the room was empty where he used to be. At that time, my husband was there for me and supported me through my dad's funeral and the memorial events that followed. Because I couldn't leave the room I shared with my dad, my husband would make me soup and listen to me talk about my dad all night. I want to marry you so badly. You've thought about me and been on my side all along. I told him during my fifth approach, if there's something you don't like about me, I'll fix it. He then looked upset and brave as he told her, I want to marry you, but my family is having problems. I don't want to give them to you. Steve, I told him, I really love you, and I don't care about any problems in your family. We then chose to get married. I have no regrets at all. I wanted to do what my grandparents wanted, and I'm happy that I did. His boys, on the other hand, were a different story. I can't believe how cocky your brothers are. I can no longer forgive them. I made it clear they will pay for everything they've done. Taxi fares, expensive food bills, payment for slapping me, the price of our tea at the cafe, home utilities, the cost of calling the police, and everything else. Steve said. His brothers turned pale. Even for that, that's not possible. Then there was an even bigger surprise. You're rejected, their father told them. What? Dad, please don't. This caused their parents to kick them out of the house. Even cousins who lived a long way away knew about their bad behavior. The brothers' women and families left them because they had lost their place. They now seem to live in peace and quiet in a small room. Is this our new house? Is it really possible to live here without any problems? We moved into a fancy high-rise house next door to Steve's parents. Of course, we agreed to buy this floor in the building before we could give up the land. It's great that we can live close together. Some of my grandparents' old house, like the beams, were used to build our new house. A new picture of our family was taken. Let's put this picture up next to the old ones. The picture showed my family's happy faces. I told myself, from now on, I'll treasure the smiles of this family